Podcast. Delighted to be joined by a very good friend of us at eVTOL Insights, Dawn Zoldi, of P3 Tech Consultant. But as I'm sure you all know, does an incredible amount of work, not just in the industry, but all across to promote the good work that the Advanced Air Mobility is doing and in future as well. Also, very recently recognised in our 2022 Power Book as well. So for very well deserved, Dawn. Thank you ever so much for joining us on the eVTOL Insights podcast again.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much. I mean, it really is an honor to have been listed in your 2022 Power Book. So thank you for that as well.
No, my pleasure, Dawn. And yeah, we look forward to sort of working together in 2022 and beyond as well. But before we sort of talk a bit more about sort of this year, 2022, and the possible, what could happen for the year, are you able to just sort of reflect back on 2021 just to sort of see how you felt the industry was in the year that's just gone, but also from a personal level as well? Because I can imagine it's been very busy for you too.
It was a crazy year, Jason. First of all, let's kind of define industry. When I think of the industry, I do kind of include small drones all the way up to the large, passenger carrying eVTOLs that your group focuses on. So, as I reflect back on the year, a lot of things happened, I'd say, kind of across the industry. If unfortunately COVID continued, right? But if there's one thing that it taught us was that technology can help society. And we saw this, especially in the smaller drone arena, with an increase in drone deliveries, whether it was in Africa, like with Zipline and groups like Swoop Arrow, or even in the United States where groups like Drone Up were delivering at-home COVID test kits for Walmart. So that was one big thing. Definitely in the advanced air mobility and eVTOL world, we just saw this huge infusion of capital. More and more companies designing, building, working towards certification than we've ever seen before. If memory serves, and I'm probably going to get the number wrong because it keeps changing and growing. But Vertical Flight Society has that directory. And I feel like at the beginning of the year, it was maybe about 400-ish. And by the end of the year, it was well over 500, companies listed in that directory. And I think that just shows this exponential growth. The United States Air Force and AFWorks, working with Joby and Beta Technologies and a whole handful of other companies towards those certifications. And like we said, we saw a lot of SPAC movement, a lot of money. So as I think those are the two big things. If I always like to say three things. And if I think about three, I'd say on the regulatory front, standards front, there was a lot of forward movement as well. My perspective is primarily in the United States, but I think globally too. And, you saw this, Jason, we had the remote identification rule, operations over people at night over moving vehicles rule come out in the beginning of last year. In the United States, we had the Beyond Visual Line of Sight Aviation Rulemaking Committee form up, which was huge, but then you think about other countries like Canada, they moved out with a low risk BVLOS, rule. And then you had U-Space in Europe. And it was everything. It was the small drones and the passenger, vehicles with the trials that they had with Gulf of Finland 2.0. So, again, as I think back, like on the industry last year, just tremendous amount of progress. From a personal level, I actually kicked off my company full time in February of 2021. So it's been a real wild ride last year, just to think of kind of a couple things. And I'll just give you I don't know if my top three, but, started writing for Forbes.com, which was kind of crazy. I actually had a little stint on CNN International about the drone threat to critical infrastructure in the United States. And, just, I say overall, my podcast. Yeah, if I was going to do top three, my Dawn of Drones podcast kicked off in August with dronelife.com. And that's just been so fun and such a joy for me. But so many other things that I did, those are just kind of three that jump at, like, if I had a bucket list or, if I die tomorrow, it's like, well, I was I was on CNN, so, and of course this year already kicking it off with the Power Book. I mean, come on. I'm looking forward to this year.
Excellent. No, really good stuff. And it's fair to say that 2021 was certainly a really good year and a year of progress as well, Dawn. So 2022 will be hard to beat in terms of what you achieved in 2021 as well. I just wanted to just touch upon then. So we're already 3 weeks into the new year. And I know certainly this week, a lot of stories have come up in terms of sort of the infrastructure side. And you mentioned in your answer with COVID-19, and while it's still with us, it still really hasn't hampered the progress of this industry, has it? What would you say we're going to see in 2022? I know, as an example, a company in the UK where we are, Urban Airport, are planning to do a public visitation of its infrastructure, its Air One project. Do you think we're going to start to see more public visitations, getting the public on board and really helping them to see just what this industry is about and get them excited, but also make it a bit more realistic to them as well? Because there's a lot of things they probably don't understand that we already know already, isn't there?
Jason, absolutely. I think we will. And I'm going to answer your question, and I'm also going to answer the one I wish you had asked me, because it's only been 3 weeks and there's already been incredible things happening this year. So the first one I want to highlight is Women in Drones did their 2021 5th anniversary global awards program here in 2022 for the very first time at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. I mean, absolutely spectacular to be aligned with CES and do that live. We had a big, program and honorary reception, and it was just tremendous. And so when you think about 2022, bigger and better, likely aligned again with CES. And so more to follow on that. That's something that's already happened. Obviously, your Power Book has come out. That's huge. Not just obviously me, but so many folks have been highlighted there. So when you think about, another thing that happened actually is Women in Drones has aligned with Vertical Flight Society. So this is really exciting, because I think when people think about women in drones, they think drones, but it's so much greater than that. And in fact, our awards program next year is going to have a lot more advanced air mobility plugins to it. But the partnership with Vertical Flight Society is all about education and diversity, equity, and inclusion in the industry writ large. And so, they helped us actually with a survey we put out. They funded the gift cards that we incentivized folks to fill out that survey. And I know we're going to get to that, but so the Vertical Flight Society, I expect a lot more going forward from an educational standpoint, on diversity, but so much more, right? Their their TVS workshop, which I think is in a week or so, next week. By the time this airs, it will have already happened. They already sold out all the live attendance. So right there, that tells you people are eager to do live, as you said, live visitations, live demos. On the eVTOL and vertical flight side, I do expect to see a ton from Flight Crowd this year. They've already, Maria Taranovska and Crowd, I mean, they're doing such amazing things. And I can't get out ahead of them, but I've talked to them offline, and I'm just saying, keep an eye out for what they're doing, because I think it's going to be big. So that's really exciting. And like I said, I expect to see this continuation of what we saw in 2021, the certifications, the additional designs, the people getting out there, looking at this and it increasing public acceptance on these things. It's going to be big. Oh, by the way, NASA, if I recall correctly, I think NASA's program, boy, my brain is not working right now. Their challenge, their national challenge, they called it. They called it national, but I believe there's other companies from other countries involved. I believe they're going to be doing some demos this year, if memory serves correctly, in urban air mobility technology. I'm talking vertiports to aircraft to the software and systems that are going to make all of this work. So that's going to be very significant as well. And of course, Europe, Canada, Asia. I mean, when you think globally, India, what is happening, I think it's going to be a bigger year than 2022, 2021. I really do.
Now, you all the points you make as well, Dawn, completely agree with as well. I just think you're with 2022 and one step closer as well. I think certainly the conversations that I've had already at the start of this year, and I'd be interested to sort of get your thoughts on it as well, Dawn, is that we saw a lot of capital investment, as you mentioned, in 2021 with the SPAC deals with the likes of Lilium, Archer, Joby, even Vertical Aerospace towards the end of the year, that people are starting to think a lot of capital investment, a lot of excitement that generated a lot of international media attention, and rightly so. But maybe 2022 is going to be the time where things are going to get, we're going to start to see, the work in place in the background. So we're going to see sort of the more sort of fingers crossed, as you said, hopefully we're seeing sort of the work in the background. That means that, the certification roadmap, as you said as well. So while it might not be front and center in terms of all this, we've done this. I know Joby recently this week recorded a video that its prototype had flown 186 miles an hour, which it's brilliant. And many regard Joby as being one of the forerunners to be launching commercial services by 2024. So I don't know what you thought as well, whether 2022 will be, yes, we'll have the progress, but it'll be more sort of in the background as we start working towards those sort of deadlines, which, to think about it, 2 years away, it's quite exciting, but also quite daunting as well at the same time, isn't it?
It is. And, we always hear NASA and other organizations say, we're taking the FAA in the United States, taking a crawl, walk, run approach. We're definitely, I'd say, more in the walk phase. And I think we're going to start walking a little faster this year. And, and I agree, 2023, 2024, that's where there's going to be a little bit of a jog, maybe a run. So I'm excited to continue watching that forward progress this year.
Excellent stuff, Dawn. And I just wanted to just add on to it as well. And you mentioned a really good point. We talked about the words that we want to see in 2022. You talked about the diversity in the vertical flight survey media release. So really appreciate you sharing those insights with us. But for those who might not have seen the results and stuff, diversity is such an important topic, not just in the eVTOL aircraft and urban air mobility markets, but across any sectors across the whole world. Are you able to share sort of any of the latest insights with our audience and really talk a bit more about sort of that question of diversity and what we could be doing as an industry, to see that more often?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And as you mentioned, Jason, so working with the Diversity Development Network of Canada, Marlene Dials and Sharon Rossmark of Women in Drones, my company and me, P3 Tech Consulting, put out a survey last summer. It was open for about 6 weeks. We got 1,082 responses, which is pretty phenomenal for an online survey. And it was all about, kind of, first of all, we framed up, where are you from, what kind of organization, what size, and things like that. So just kind of the background of the respondents. But then we really got into, perceptions, reality and perceptions, so in your organization, of these identity groups, what percent of them, make up the workforce? And then of those, what percent of them make up the leadership team? How many leaders do you have? And then there was this kind of belief and perception aspect of the survey of, what's your view of diversity? Do you think it is important in the industry? Do you think we could do better? Like, what do you want to see? And so we gained so many insights, just from what we gleaned. And really, it should be no surprise that there continues to be a lack of diversity in the aerospace industry, but particularly in the UAS and AAM industry as well. I think you and I were talking earlier about, Mike Hirschberg, director of the Vertical Flight Society, for eVTOL Insights, did a phenomenal op-ed, about the fact that, if we don't kind of turn the tide here and inspire a larger group of folks to want to be, for just in the engineer career field, as an example, we're going to be 10,000 engineers short to sustain these industries and, this industry going forward. But it's more than just engineers. We're talking pilots. I mean, I've been doing a lot of my own research, and you can even just Google right now, like drone pilot images. And I guarantee you're not going to see a lot of women, and you're not going to see a lot of people of color, just as an example, like the visible identity kind of characteristics, if you will, Asian, Hispanic, I actually wrote a book. It's going to be released this year with Unmanned Safety Institute, and it's on, drone law and policy. And, when we were putting those images together, the first run I got was like, no, like, We had to really in a very deliberate manner go out and find those images. And I had to even ask friends who I knew fit those characteristics for their own pictures of themselves. So that's just an example. And so that's what you're going to see. We've released the executive summary. And that's kind of like the top 10 takeaways for the industry. And the larger report, it's going to be well over 100 pages long with a ton of insights. That will be available for purchase on the Women in Drones website, probably by mid-February, maybe by late February. As you can imagine, just compiling that analysis, plus all the background research to make it worthwhile for people that want to improve and companies that want to improve. It's taken a lot of work, but well worth the effort. We're really excited. And, I think you should expect this year to see some educational initiatives along those lines, and maybe not even ones that you would think as standard DEI like initiatives. When you think of diversity, equity, inclusion, it's a leadership issue, right? It completely is a leadership issue, and it starts at the top. So what kind of education is relevant to that? Is it just unconscious bias? Probably not. This is a human relations issue. It's a people issue. And so how do we do that? And I'm really excited to dig into it, given my background in the Air Force and working at the Air Force Academy at the Center for Character and Leadership Development. This is all of my passion projects are like combined in this one issue. It's really exciting. So thanks for asking about it.
No, my pleasure, Dawn. And as I said, really appreciate all the efforts that you've put into that, and the whole team that have worked on this together as well. And I think how must it feel then, the fact that more than 1,000 people from this industry has contributed to this, because it goes to show that it's a very important topic that a lot of people have a lot of things they want to talk about.
Yeah, that does tell me something. It tells me that there definitely is interest, and that was telegraphed. Like there's interest, we want to change. And so, when you think about what could happen in 2022 or beyond, that's where I think you're going to see some of this increasing. And groups like Flight Crowd, like Women in Drones, like the Community Air Mobility Initiative, run by very strong women. I think you're going to see more and more of this, and it's really exciting.
Perfect. No, thanks ever so much for that, Dawn. And already this year, there's a lot of exciting things that are happening. I understand you've got some other really good news that you want to sort of share with our audience. Are you able to tell us a bit more about that, please?
Thank you. I'll stick with my power of threes, right? If you've ever watched my TED Talk, by the way, it's linked on my website, Life, Lawyers, and Leadership. I talk about the power of threes, and so I'm going to give you two more. The first one is my podcast. So I'm really excited about the Dawn of Drones this year. We do a theme a month. We just finished in January Tech Showcase Month, sponsored by Dragonfly, kicked it off at CES, had amazing companies. We've got companies like Volatus Aerospace endowing, philanthropically endowing other up and coming, minority, startup businesses, governmental organizations to be on the podcast. Carasoft, for example, it's a $10.6 billion IT resale company, created a government UAS line of effort. And they also have an endowment, kind of horizontally across the podcast this year with a bunch of their partners. So super exciting. And for this crowd, May is going to be dedicated to advanced air mobility and vertical flight. So I'm really excited about that. Like I said, when I think about this industry, I think holistically, kind of small to large and everything in between and that ecosystem. So, we're going to have themes like technological enablers or innovation month. So keep your eyes open. February actually is going to be dual use technologies month, sponsored by Northrop Grumman, which is a defense giant. So I've got more and more folks coming to me wanting to be on that podcast, and we're almost running out of inventory, which is a good problem to have. But I'm just really excited. And it's, like I said, it's something I just absolutely love doing. And like you, Jason, telling the stories of the people in this industry and the companies doing amazing things. The third thing I'm going to talk about, and there's so much more, but the third thing I'm going to focus on is my Law Tech Connect workshop. So when I won that Women to Watch award myself in 2019, it inspired me to create my company. And one of the major lines of effort that why I created my company was to have a legal component where I can bring lawyers and attract lawyers with continuing legal education credit in the United States. Like CLE is something every lawyer to maintain their license has to do every year for the most part, to give them CLE credit, but to bring them, marry it up with tech expos and kind of get that rich dialogue going. So, you don't have lawyers in some back room making policies or talking about regulations without actually meeting the people in the industry and seeing the tech firsthand. So that was always my vision, and finally getting to do it. So AUVSI Exponential this year is going to be in Orlando, Florida. At the end of April. My event, Law Tech Connect Workshop, is going to be on Monday, the 25th of April, and it's going to be an all-day event from 8 until 5. I'm so excited because the Florida Bar, because that's where it's being held, the Florida Bar Association has, or the Florida Bar, actually, Supreme Court of Florida, has approved my program for 8 CLE credits, 7 general and 1 substance abuse. We have a special lunch program about stress in the industry, lawyers and techies both. All of my faculty, my panels are lawyers and industry experts. Okay, so let me just give you an example. I'm so excited. I have one kind of forecasting the future of the industry, what's going on. It's going to be moderated by Women to Watch award winner Karen DeMeo. She won the leadership award that I won several years ago. So Karen is going to be moderating this panel with Greg Reverdo from the Pilot Institute. We have Kevin Morris, the drone guy from the FAA, on that panel. And boy, there's somebody else I just can't remember. But I mean, this is the level of like people. We have Cameron Shell from Dragonfly. We've got Glenn Lynch from Volatus Aerospace. Some of the top lawyers, and I didn't just get top civilian lawyers. I got top military lawyers. So we have Brigadier General United States Army retired Patrick Houston. He is like he's like a world expert on artificial intelligence. We have an AI panel. It's going to be moderated by Bronwyn Morgan, who actually just won the Women to Watch Iris Automation Entrepreneurship Award. So again, just incredible lineup, 1-day event, all meals included, for a super low price. So that registration link is live. And if there are government, non-for-profit students out there that want to attend, email me, reach out to me, because I have a promo code that will give you even $100 off. It's only early bird $349. And my book is also aligned with it and available for like at cost purchase from my registrants. So really, I can't even tell you how excited I am and how many people have come out to like support this event already, just in the level of sponsorship. So really excited.
Perfect. Well, wishing you all the very best with that, Dawn. It sounds like you've got a really good agenda, and I'm sure everyone will be really keen to join as well. What we'll do at the end, just to sort of share if you're able to share some contact details, so if anyone listening or watching this wants to get involved or wants to sort of buy a ticket, we can also add that in as well. I've always really enjoyed chatting to you, Dawn, as well. Some really good insights from that as well. And I guess the sort of one of the final things I wanted to add as well is at eVTOL Insights, we try and sort of open up as many channels as possible to help spread the word of the good work that's being done in AAM and in eVTOL. I know you do your Clubhouse sessions on a Thursday as well. How important has Clubhouse been, just as a side sort of question, really, to helping to amplify with the great guests that you have, but also to have those conversations? I've certainly learned a lot from the conversations we've had with ours. But how important has Clubhouse been in an era where we're not necessarily able to meet in person as such, to have those questions and to learn more about this industry and from inspired individuals such as yourself?
That is a great question, Jason, because you know this, I'm all over social media, right? So I have a Twitter account, I have Instagram for my company, I have Facebook, LinkedIn. I have my own Patreon page where people can subscribe, where I have my exclusive blog and specialized video content behind there only for my members. Trying to think of where else I am. Obviously my website and things like this, but so my largest following is on LinkedIn, and that continues to grow daily. But from an interactive kind of platform standpoint, Clubhouse has been absolutely phenomenal. I have over 500 followers there just since when I really kind of kicked it off, I'd say end of last May 2021. As of August of 21, when we kicked off the Dawn of Drones podcast, we aligned it with the Clubhouse. And so every Thursday at 9 a.m. Mountain, right after yours, Jason, what we do is we have our guest that is going to appear the following week on the podcast in our Clubhouse. And once they started allowing recording of those and those playbacks of the audio, it just mushroomed. I mean, completely mushroomed. So, our podcast guests are on Clubhouse Thursday. They're on the podcast, Thursday, and then podcast the following Wednesday. And then I, typically will write an article that will also be released. So, but the connections in Clubhouse, let me just give you an example. This brought a tear to my eye. Towards the end of last year, you dial in a little early. I like to start at the top of the hour. And by the way, it's called Drone Law Connections. For those that aren't members, please join. So we're just kind of chit-chatting, and there's a bunch of regulars and they come in all the time. And I was like, I really wish I was, I had a theme song. I'm not tech savvy enough to figure all this out. I said, but if I did, it would probably be, I know it sounds corny, We Are Family, by Sister Sledge. And we get to the end of the session, and this gentleman from Chicago, Kyle is his name. He says, "Hey Dawn, is it okay if I do something?" I'm like, "Sure, Kyle." He's always in the room, and he just starts playing the song. And again, I've never met Kyle in person. And, for him to feel so invested in our Clubhouse and in that content, to do that, it just really was so meaningful to me. And the other thing I'll say about it is, like I said, we kicked it off in earnest, in August. Well, in September at the Commercial UAV Expo in Las Vegas, I met so many of my Clubhouse colleagues and regulars in person for the first time. And it was like a family reunion. I mean, that's why I said, hey, let's use We Are Family, right? Because the connections we made there, they were real. And there's several people, and what I'm finding is companies that come into my Clubhouse and speak as a guest, they're getting at least 2 or 3 viable connections, business connections, lucrative, real business connections every episode. And so I can't speak more highly of Clubhouse than I just did, because I think the results are real. The relationships that you make there have been real. And, Jason, I mean, you and we forged a relationship a while ago. It's all about relationships, whether in life or in business. And Clubhouse has been just incredible. And especially, look, I see you here. I'm assuming you're in your house. Clearly, I'm in my basement office. The last couple of years being somewhat isolated, to have, as you said, that way to connect with people has been incredible. And my podcast amplifies that, because it's also live streamed and people jump in the chat, and it's so fun to see, kind of what they're saying and the connections we're making there too. So yeah, thanks for asking about that.
No, my pleasure, Dawn. And I think it's great to see sort of the impact that you've had on Clubhouse, and the fact that the connections are being made as well. And that's all thanks to the good work. And hopefully, as we've said before, it's not long before we can meet in person ourselves as well. It's certainly long overdue. So. I've really enjoyed our conversation as always, Dawn. I didn't know whether you were able to finish off really by just wrapping up bits of sort of kind of what you think could be, what do you think is the big thing that could happen? What will be the wow factor you think could happen in 2020? I'm conscious I'm putting you on the spot in a bit, but what do you think could be the big thing that would happen in the industry? It doesn't have to happen, but if you would want it to happen, what would you think would be in your opinion, the thing that you'd want that wow factor for 2022 for you?
Yeah, I mean, the wow factor on the eVTOL side would be to, no kidding, see some real commercial. This would be well ahead of schedule, but real commercial, passenger flights. I think we're going to see cargo this year. I think there's already cargo happening out there, maybe under the radar a little bit, some of it with R&D, but that would be the wow factor if, you really could get on, hop on one of these aircraft and fly, from Boston, New York, as an example, in record time. I don't know that that's going to happen this year, but that would be a wow factor. Like you asked me about the wow factor. That would be it. From kind of my own business perspective, I think the wow factor for me would be, a success of my Law Tech Connect event, and then being able to replicate that at these other tech expos, including maybe someday in the future, Jason, yours and what you're going to do in the UK, like to have that kind of legal policy co-located, industry event that correlates to the expo and to the other content. That would be awesome, because that would be a whole different line of effort for me that really, when you think about my company, all the different things that I talked about that I do, it all boils down to education. And, this is something that I'm so passionate about. So I hope it's successful, and that, the wow factor for me would be like maybe doing one more this year. That would be a tough one to, rally that up in record time, but I could do it. So if anybody's interested in that out there, just reach out to me. But I'm going to kick off that first one with AUVSI in April.
Brilliant stuff, Dawn. Well, if there's anyone that can do that, that's certainly you as well. So yeah, really appreciate that as well. For those that are listening as well, and thank you ever so much for all your insights, Dawn. It's always great to talk to you. What's the best contact details then for about the event that you're looking to launch later this year? How can they get hold of you in terms of more information and tickets, for example?
No, that sounds great. First of all, if you're not following me on LinkedIn, please do that. Just Dawn Zoldi. Like I said, I'm across social, all over the place. So largely with P3 Tech Consulting, that's how you find me there. For the event, if you go to AUVSI Exponential 2022's website and you go under education, and it's called Specialized Workshops, that's where you can find the registration. It's called Law Tech Connect Workshop. And so again, it's exponential.org/exponential 2022. And then you go under education and find that specialized workshop. So that's how you can sign up there. And trying to think of other ways. I would love, honestly, for more people to join my Patreon. I don't make a lot of money off of it. And I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and love into it. But it's got my blog behind there that I don't put anywhere else. And so if you're really interested in industry insights that you're not going to get anywhere else, check it out. It's patreon.com/Dawn Zoldi. And of course, last but not least, Dawn of Drones, like dial in, dial up, watch on demand, because it's on the Drone Life TV YouTube channel and on Drone Life TV. So that's all I got.
Perfect. Dawn, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you ever so much for taking the time to talk to us. Let's continue working in 2022 and see what the year has in store. Keep up the great work as always. And thank you once again.
Thank you so much. And right back at you, Jason.
Thank you.